Hey everyone, so today we're going to be doing the psychology of Grey's Anatomy exclusively on season 5, episode 19. And so my name is Karina Cardenas and my partner is Kathy Ha. So here it is. The episode is called Elevator Love Letter. And so we're going to be doing a character analysis of what was going on throughout the episode. So our first character is Meredith Grey, which is the main protagonist. Throughout the whole episode, Meredith is a person on which everybody goes to comfort, or goes to for comfort. So our AP Psych evaluation on her was that she showed companion love. So what companion love is a warm, trusting, tolerant affection for another whose life is deeply intertwined with one's own. So Meredith helps Christina with her situation with Owen, and she also helps Alex cope with his emotions towards Izzy's illness. She also reassures her now fiance that everything's going to turn out right and reminds him that he's a great surgeon. Our next character is Derek Shepard. So it is Derek's first day back at the hospital after getting surgery on his hand, and the pressure's all over him since his first patient to operate on is Izzy. And also, he finally proposes to Meredith in this episode. A term that can describe him, or AP Psych term, would be commitment. An intent to maintain a relationship in spite of the difficulties and costs that may arise. So he is willing to spend the rest of his life with Meredith despite her not wanting an actual proposal or like the wedding ring. That's why he did the elevator with all the brain scans. And next up is Izzy Stevens. Izzy is suffering from stage 4 metastatic melanoma, which has spread to her liver, skin, and brain, causing the hallucinations. Her survival chances are estimated at only 5%. During this episode, nobody comes to visit her, so she distracts herself with knitting scarves. So we thought that this could represent cognitive dissonance theory. So it's a perceived inconsistency between two thoughts when a person has two contradictory or opposite thoughts at the same time. So she thinks that her friends don't care about her because they haven't visited her all day. So instead, she resorts to knitting. But in reality, her friends do care about her, but she told them to go save lives, so her thoughts are contradictory. Next up, we have Alex Karev. As Izzy's husband, he has to put up with all the emotional stress that comes with her illness. He has to make future decisions on his own for him and Izzy. For example, he had to decide whether he wanted to freeze the embryos with the sperm. This could represent denial, a defense mechanism in which unpleasant thought or desires are ignored or excluded from consciousness. So he keeps avoiding Izzy because he refuses to believe that her life will soon come to an end. We also have George O'Malley. George blames himself for not being able to help Izzy as her best friend, and he lets his anger out by breaking apart old bone cast. This could represent displacement. So a defense mechanism in which unwanted feelings are directed towards a different object. So he took out anger or frustration on breaking upon old bone cast, which that is not the cause of the offense. Next up is Callie Torres. When Callie was married to George, she wished Izzy Stevens would die, and she hated her for breaking apart the relationship. In this episode, she regrets it now and she wishes to take it back. So this could represent the scapegoat theory. Scapegoating is finding someone to blame when things go wrong, and it provides a target for one's anger. So Izzy did not ruin their marriage all by herself. Callie and George played their own parts in their marriage. Marriage falling, really. So Callie uses Izzy to blame for its entirety. We also have Owen Hun, which he plays a really big part in this episode. So when Christina and Owen are laying in bed, Owen drifts off into sleep by looking at the fan. And so later he mistakes the fan as a helicopter and he wakes up to him choking Christina. Also, when the doctors or his friends really try to tell him that there's something wrong with him, he yells out that some guys come back with real injuries and that this isn't that big of a deal. So this, he definitely has or is dealing with PTSD, which is a psychological disorder that may become evident after a person has undergone extreme stress caused by some type of disaster. Common symptoms include vivid, intrusive recollections or re-experiences of the traumatic event and occasional lapses of normal consciousness. And it could also represent rationalization. So, the defense mechanism that offers self-justifying explanations in place of the real, more threatening unconscious reasons for one's actions. So his entire unit has been killed in an RPG ambush during his deployment in Iraq. So this is why he has PTSD. And rationalization is because he denies that he needs help, but later goes to Shepard to take a look at his brain. So Christina knows there's something wrong with him. While he was choking her, she mentions the fact that he had no changes in visual acuity. So that is why she knows that he has PTSD. However, Christina tries to pretend that there's nothing wrong, and rather than to leave him, she hugs him and tells him that everything's going to be okay. So this represents reaction formation, replacing feelings that are socially or personally unacceptable with emotions that are acceptable. So for her, the feelings that should be unacceptable for her is like leaving him pretty much. And so she tries to replace that with telling herself that everything's going to be alright. We also have Josie Wallington and her family. Josie is a patient during this time. So Josie's nephews and niece are impatient and are tired of waiting for Aunt Josie to pass away. And when she passes away, they understand that they are wrong. So this can represent unconditional positive regard and an attitude of total acceptance toward another person. So before she died, they didn't really want to, I wouldn't say accept her, but they were just so impatient that they didn't really realize the fact that she had so much to offer. So they didn't accept her in that way. So once she died, her nephews and niece decided to stay longer when she passed away. And they finally realized how they deeply cared about her. And so some of the psychological terms or psychology terms that were mentioned in the show was the MRI. This is a magnetic resonance imaging, a technique that uses magnetic fields and radio waves to produce computer-generated images of soft tissue. We also have the temporal lobe, which is the portion of the cerebral cortex lying roughly above the ears. That includes the auditory areas, each receiving information primarily from the opposite ear. We also have the CT scan, or the computed tomography scan, a series of X-ray photographs taken from different angles and combined by computer into a composite representation of the slice through the body. There's also hallucinations, so false sensory experiences such as seeing something in the absence of an external visual stimulus. And so in total, we have 14 terms that we talked about today, and that is the end of our presentation. Hope you guys like it.